I'm Jim Longworth, and welcome to another episode of Triad Today, coming to you once again from our home away from home, the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville, which I hope you will visit. We'll tell you more about that later on. And speaking of later on, that's when our roundtable shows up, and we'll get into all sorts of controversial topics. But between then and now, some great information, including conversations with the two major party candidates for state insurance commissioner, guys that have a lot of responsibility and touches on our everyday lives as well. So I think you'll enjoy those conversations. But we're going to start out talking about hip and knee replacement, total joint replacement. And fortunately, I have an expert in that field with me right now. I'm with Dr. Evan Smith, who's an orthopedic surgeon at Wake Forest Baptist Health. And welcome, Doc. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
From Pennsylvania through Penn State, and we're so glad you matriculated or migrated down into here.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's nice and warm.
Yeah. So what happens if Wake plays Penn State? What do you do?
Oh, man. My allegiances run deep. My mom went there. My brother went there. So I think I have to stick with Penn State.
Okay. Well, this segment's over. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, now let's talk about hip and knee replacement. How do I know? I mean, we all have, especially as we get older, we have aches and pains.
Sure.
How do I know if I'm really at the point where I need a hip or knee replacement?
So early on with hip and knee arthritis, we can effectively treat the inflammation in the joint with things like anti-inflammatories, Tylenol. Sometimes physical therapy can help build up strength around the joint, take off stress on the joint. Sometimes weight loss can take off stress on the joint. Once we've used those modalities, things like injections may be helpful. Once you've used all of those things and we've sort of exhausted our conservative options, then we start talking about joint replacement. What I always ask people, because it's a common question that I get, what sort of measurement do I know that I'm ready for a joint replacement? We don't have a battery of exams that we run people through. The question I ask is, are you able to do the activities you want to do, or is the hip or knee arthritis detracting from those activities?
So you're sort of acting like a counselor. When I show up, I'm already sort of stressed out, wondering what's going to happen, and you don't automatically say, "Hi, I'm Dr. Smith, and we're going to do surgery." You're going through this process. You're listening to what their concerns are, which I think is kind of cool. Now, the thing is, if you come to that point where you say, "Yeah, I think it is surgery is advisable," what are we talking about in terms of a lengthy hospital stay?
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing what we've been able to do over the last decade or so. Most patients are staying in the hospital for a day, going home the day after surgery.
That's for hip or knee or knee?
Both.
Wow.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Some people are even going home the same day as surgery. That's what we call outpatient surgery. So they come in, they get their hip or knee replacement done. They work with physical therapy. They meet certain milestones that we've determined makes them safe for home. And then they're able to go home later that day. And those are some of our happiest patients, because we've learned over time that people are happier at home, whether it's sleeping in your own bed,
right,
not being bothered by people trying to take blood draws from you, or the beeping in the hospital from all the monitors.
Yeah, my wife comes in like every 2 hours at night and takes blood. I don't know
exactly.
I don't understand the whole thing. Now here's the thing, though. I'm just amazed at what you just said about the quick recovery time. But there has to be, after a hip or knee replacement, there's got to be some restrictions. I mean, what's the total recovery time, even with therapy and whatever? What can I do? What I can't do?
That's a great question. Each surgeon's probably going to have a little bit different restriction in the first 6 weeks or so while your tissues are healing. For instance, myself, I've gotten pretty liberal with what I'll let patients do. I work under the theory that we do the joint replacement to get you back to the activities you want to do. So if before you were cycling, hiking, if those activities make you happy, I'm not going to tell you not to do them. At the same time, there are a couple things we won't let people do, but for the most part with the patients we see, people aren't playing football or rugby, so it's not a problem.
We have a few seconds left. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who or what led you to a career in medicine?
I think it's probably just from wanting to help people, and it was very rewarding, and I'm so fortunate now that I'm able to do hip and knee replacements and get people back to a quality of life that they enjoy. It's a great job. I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Well, we're so glad you're here doing those, performing those surgeries and helping people and listening to our, you're sort of a counselor too, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. Every patient is unique.
Yeah, it is. Thanks, Doc, for doing this.
No problem.
Up on screen, www.wakehealth.edu/ortho. Please check that out if you would. We'll be right back after this. And, Triad Today, very honored to have a special guest with us. On my right is Mike Causey, Commissioner of Insurance, and you may not know that the Commissioner of Insurance is also the State Fire Marshal. And Mike, we welcome you to Triad Today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You're an Army veteran. You're also a veteran of the insurance industry. And so I'm wondering, has that experience, either or, helped you in doing your job?
Oh, absolutely. I recognize veterans every day. I wear this bracelet that has all the branches of the military service and our first responders.
Right.
That I want to show my appreciation every day for the sacrifices our veterans and first responders make. And of course, the military teaches you discipline and leadership skills.
So you're using that every day.
We use that every day.
And you come from the insurance industry, so it's not like you were an accountant somewhere or in some other profession, but you know this inside and out.
Well, no offense to my attorney friends, but I tell folks that I'm the first non-attorney ever elected to this office. And now, I think it's good to have an insurance commissioner that actually has experience in the insurance business. I've gone through the ranks as an agent, agency manager, superintendent of agencies, and seen all aspects of insurance. And it not only helps from the agent's point of view, it helps me understand the consumer's point of view, what they have to go through.
Right. Let me throw one at you. We didn't rehearse this or anything, but you know, one of my pet peeves used to be, before I got on Medicare and became an older person, was the private insurance companies and how much they were charging and all this. And I always wondered why you or Wayne or any of your predecessors never put a firm, permanent cap on premiums for folks to help out. How come you never did that?
Well, you can't.
You could change the law, though, couldn't you?
The legislature writes the laws, and our system's different in North Carolina than any other state. We have a North Carolina Rate Bureau. The Rate Bureau represents the insurance industry, and so the Rate Bureau is the body that sets up the rates, and that has nothing to do with the Department of Insurance. As commissioner, I do have sole authority to say yes or no when they propose a rate increase or decrease or whatever.
So you could theoretically keep turning down the increases.
Well, I've always said no for increases that's come before me, and what we're required to do by state law is to set up a court date, and it goes to court. Prior to going to court, the insurance companies can come to the commissioner.
Try to work it out.
Right, and we've sat down, had some negotiations.
All right, what are some of the challenges that you face as insurance commissioner? People might want to know.
Well, a lot of it's education. I'm telling you, people do not know what's under the Department of Insurance. When I was campaigning in 2016, I'd go around the state, introduce myself. I'm Mike Causey. I'm running for state insurance commissioner. People would say, "What kind of insurance do y'all sell?" I said, "Well, we don't sell insurance, we regulate it." But in North Carolina, the insurance commissioner is the state fire marshal, overall fire departments, fire training. We're the chief building inspector, so we're over engineering codes, building code inspections.
I didn't know that.
We regulate manufactured building, the modular homes, mobile home. That's a huge industry for this state. We're in charge of collection agencies. We regulate all collection agencies. We regulate bail bondsmen, surety bondsmen, and we have sworn law enforcement officers to investigate insurance fraud and arson. This is a little trivia, Jim, but North Carolina was the first state in the nation to put sworn law enforcement officers in a Department of Insurance.
Well, I'll tell you, before we run out of time, and we're going to try to get Wayne on as well because we're so close to the election, I want to be fair about this. But with all those challenges and stress and everything, why do you want to run again?
I love my job. Like we had an old agriculture commissioner years ago, Jim Graham. He'd go around and say, "I love my job." Well, I love my job, and I love helping people. We're here to help. And last year we helped over 258,000 people in this state. So I tell folks, if you've got a problem with a claim or you're having a frustrating time dealing with an insurance company, give us a call, give me a call, we'll get you help.
Up on screen, MikeCauseyNC.com is the website for the campaign. And if you have general information questions about the Department of Insurance, that's ncdoi.gov, ncdoi.gov. Mike, I appreciate you coming down to the garden and being with us.
Thank you, Jim, and I thank you for doing this and getting this information out to the public.
My pleasure.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back after today. Earlier in the program, you heard from Mike Causey, the current State Commissioner of Insurance, and now we have the former Insurance Commissioner who is running to get his job back from Mike Causey. It gets complicated, but next to me, of course, Wayne Goodwin, former Commissioner of Insurance, also the State Party Chairman for the Democratic Party in North Carolina. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you. Good to see you.
You preceded Mike, as we said, and now you want your old job back. So the first question is going to be why?
Because I have unfinished business as our insurance commissioner for 2 terms, and as someone who worked for the Department of Insurance for 12 years, I'm the most experienced, most qualified person. I saved us $2.4 billion, had refunds of $206 million. We have the lowest car insurance premiums in the country here in North Carolina on my watch because of decisions I made. All that changed after I was no longer in office. We need somebody fighting for affordable, accessible health insurance. That's why I'm running.
Now, I was going to ask you as a follow-up, what are you most proud of that you accomplished in your tenure? Because you were there for a number of years. Or is it just what you said? Is it a redundant question, or do you want to add to that? Anything you're proud of?
Well, I'm especially proud that I was able to continue the legacy of Jim Long. Jim Long was the insurance commissioner for 24 years, was a consumer's champion of consumers' champions, had support of Republicans, Democrats, you name it, because it wasn't about politics, it was about what was right. I know that I continued that, given the unmatched record of savings that I had as our insurance commissioner.
And again, this may seem a little redundant, sort of piggybacking off of something you said a moment ago, but what challenges would you face this time? And maybe it's not political challenges. What challenges would you face if you get reelected that maybe you didn't have to face when you started?
Well, we are in the midst of a pandemic, and there has not been, under the current commissioner's watch, any actual hearings to force the insurance industry to make the case about why insurance rates are what they are. So the challenge I face is, first in as commissioner, is to ask for the insurance industry to make filings so that we can have a review of what they're charging everybody, because people aren't doing the same things now, whether personally or in business, that they were 4 years ago because of the pandemic. I believe rates are still too high, so you will have someone fighting to find the truth when I'm back as commissioner.
In some states, and I don't have to tell you this, in some states the state insurance commissioner is appointed rather than elected. So which system do you think is best, being elected or appointed?
I think elected. There's politics in everything, as you can imagine. And in the states where the governor appoints somebody to be the insurance commissioner, guess what? The person that gets appointed, he or she has usually been a big donor to that governor, or somebody who is a big wig or akin to a big donor. That's politics. We need to have transparency, and the best way to do it, let the people decide. Let the voters decide. We're one of 11 states that do it. I think we do it right, and it's for the people to make that decision.
And tell me again, now, how many years were you the insurance commissioner?
8 years as the insurance commissioner, 4 years as the assistant commissioner, so 12 years at the department.
And of course, we mentioned, as we did with on Mike's segment too, that you're also, when you were in that job, as he is now, you also are over a lot of things. Fire safety and many other departments that touch people's lives. I don't think people realize how much responsibility an insurance commissioner has.
The insurance commissioner's office has fairly broad regulatory authority. People have no idea that it's not just about regulating insurance agents and insurance companies and insurance rates, but you're the state fire marshal, you regulate bail bondsmen, you regulate collection agents, you provide the education on Medicare for every senior citizen in this state, and it goes on and on and on. It's a huge office, great responsibilities.
It is. I mean, whether it's you or Mike that goes in, it's a lot of responsibility and a lot of stress on it. But so I have to ask you, what's rewarding about it to you?
Helping people. For as long as I can remember, going back when I was a kid, my passion in life was I wanted to solve problems and help people. I wanted to be a minister. I wanted to be an engineer. And ultimately, I wound up becoming a lawyer, fighting for people to basically protect them from greedy companies, greedy insurance companies, and from being railroaded. So to me, it's about helping people.
All right, we're going to put up on screen www.waynegoodwin.org. That's correct, isn't it? waynegoodwin.org if you want to see more about Wayne's positions. And no matter how you vote in this race, folks, 2 fine gentlemen who do a lot of good work, have a lot of responsibilities that help us. And appreciate you coming down and doing this.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. We'll be right back after. On Triad Today, and it's time to talk about histotechnology. And if you're as confused as I am, we're going to clear that up with a very special guest right now because it's an important topic that can translate to some great jobs. Let's meet her right now. Dr. Bridget Ledford Waters is Department Head of Medical Laboratory Technology and Histotechnology at Alamance Community College. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Jim.
By way of Indiana, and we're glad that you're now North Carolinian. Now, we've had folks from Alamance Community College come on plenty of times before. We've talked about all sorts of things like the biology, the biotechnology center of excellence, that kind of thing. But my notes from Ed Williams said, ask her about histotechnology. What in the world is that?
Well, histotechnology is an area of medicine where our technicians will take tissue samples from biopsies that doctors collect, and they will treat those tissue samples, then stain them with different stains and colorings so that the physician can then go back and look at those to see whether or not the cells in those tissues are normal.
Wow, that's very highly professional job that you have to do. I mean, you have to really have a lot of training for that. And I assume that's why you're here, because you're going to talk about how we're doing that at Alamance Community College. Before we talk about that, though, is there a high demand for someone in that field now?
Absolutely. We have a long-standing program already in medical laboratory technology, and the graduates from that program, 100% are employed in the field within 6 months of graduation.
Good grief.
Yeah, many of them have more than one job offer before they graduate.
That is fantastic. That's a great success story for Alamance Community College, and it sounds like we're doing a commercial, and I'm not, but I mean, it is what it is. It's a great success story. Now, I understand, of course, we all know that you have the world's largest diagnostic company virtually in your backyard. How does having LabCorp being in Burlington affect your program?
LabCorp was one of the major driving factors in our decision to start a program in histotechnology. They already do employ many of our medical laboratory graduates, but they have an immense need for histotechnologists specifically.
At LabCorp.
At LabCorp. And so now that we've started that program, we expect that many of our graduates will find lucrative careers there.
Well, what kind of folks gravitate to work in the medical lab field? I mean, probably not somebody 100 years old like me, but what kind of folks gravitate to it?
Normally, our students gravitate towards science and medicine. Many of them have worked in other areas of the medical field, such as nursing, or they work as phlebotomists drawing blood samples, but they want to kind of take a step behind closed doors and work behind the scenes to help diagnose and help improve the lives of the patients that are seen every day.
Now, I don't want to sound greedy or anything, but if I'm interested in this, what if I ask you, gee, are there good salaries involved in this kind of career?
Absolutely, Jim. Entry-level salaries for histotechnology can range anywhere from $35,000 to $45,000 a year and upward.
That's great. Now, is it too late to enroll in your program for 2020?
It is not too late. We enroll for our program in every semester, and right now we are enrolling for spring semester at ACC.
I want to put up some information on screen. So it's a general website for the college, alamancecc.edu. For our radio listening audience, I'll say it again, alamancecc.edu. We'll get you all sorts of information. We have about a minute left. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot. We didn't rehearse this or anything, but what made you want to go into this field, and why did you want to do it?
Well, I was 12 years old and I entered a science fair, and I decided I was going to do my project on the HIV virus. It was new to the world of medicine way back then.
Right.
And once I started looking into that, I realized, well, there are doctors, but there are these other people that are actually taking patient samples, and they know before the doctor knows if a person has an infection.
What the results are.
Yeah.
Well, bless your heart. I just think that's great. That's a great motivation. Well, will you come back sometime and visit with us?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim.
All right. Thanks, Bridget. We'll be right back. Today, just about time for the roundtable. Just a reminder, I hope you will pick up your copy of Yes Weekly. My column this week focuses on Keith Granberry, so I hope you will enjoy that. Also, thanks again to the good folks here at Senior Botanical Garden for letting us camp out here throughout the pandemic months, as it were. Their website is on screen. Please visit that. You can come out and have small weddings and all sorts of things here. Now to the roundtable. On my immediate right, but always the political left, Ogie Elberman, the great broadcaster and journalist. Back behind him in social distance, as it were, Dr. Don Martin, Vice Chair of the Forsyth County Commissioners, and I already mentioned Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Welcome, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Let's begin with the city of Asheville, where that city council has slashed $770,000 from the police budget to reallocate it to community programs such as help for the homeless. We've talked about this sort of before, but now the question is, should our local city councils around here do the same thing? Ogie.
Honestly, I'm not real comfortable with slashing budgets. I like reallocating. I like freeing up some funds for these other programs to aid homeless or community involvement to get the police out in the community. But slashing budgets is probably not the answer.
Don.
I do not agree with slashing budgets at all. And clearly, every budget needs scrutiny, and there's always opportunities to do. I think that community policing is a great thing as a way to get folks out in the community.
Keith Granberry.
I think that you should reallocate the money by hiring policemen who are from those communities, have police officers in these communities, and work to have programs in these police offices. That's what I believe.
Well, as you guys know, the Centers for Disease Control has recommended that kids not go out trick-or-treating on Halloween, and especially not have any Halloween parties. Given their recommendation, guys, should Governor Cooper say, let's cancel Halloween? Ogie Overman.
Well, you can't cancel Halloween. I mean, the kids have suffered enough. I think you should discourage trick-or-treating, but there's a trunk and treat, all these things. There's things you can do to celebrate Halloween.
Dr. Don Martin, you were superintendent of a school system for many years. What do you think?
I think leaving it to local communities to provide their own parameters. There's an article in the Journal today about it.
Keith Granberry.
I think you need to have a virtual Halloween in your house, and I think you need to have just like you should have virtual school. No one should be coming together at this time when the pandemic is not slowing down, as you've seen the last day, it's speeding up.
Surging. Principally because of young people who are
Exactly.
ignoring this. Okay, Congress has introduced a bill that would limit the term of a Supreme Court justice to 18 years instead of letting them have a lifetime appointment. Good idea or bad idea, Ogie?
I like it. That idea's been floating around for many years, and I've been in favor of 20-year terms for a long time. I think it could happen now. It really could, if we get a Democratic Congress and a Democratic president.
Don Martin.
I agree. I think, and whatever take an average of the years of the previous justices and come up with that number, whether it's 18, 20, what kind of a number, it's good.
18-year limit proposed for Supreme Court justices, Keith.
I don't agree with that. I think that the Democrats should not have changed the rules when they were in the Senate. Harry Reid changed the rules, which caused there not to be a compromise in the Senate, which allowed the filibuster to go away, which is causing the problems that we have now. That needs to return, so there should be some commonality in some partnerships within the parties. Now it's not.
And quickly going around, just a quick answer on this same topic, sort of, should there be an age limit on Supreme Court justices? Ogie?
No.
Don?
No.
Keith?
No.
All right. That'll be good, because when I turn 90, then I want to get on the court. Speaking of on the court, the NCAA has recently announced, that was a good transition, don't you think, Don?
It was good.
The NCAA has said that on November 3rd, Election Day, all college students will have the day off, student athletes will have the day off so they can go vote. There'll be no games, no any kind of warm-ups, practices, or anything. You okay with that decision to give student athletes a day off on Election Day, Ogie?
Yes, the NCAA finally got something right. Thank goodness they got one thing right.
Don Martin.
I'm okay with it.
Keith.
I think everyone should have the day off to go vote. Absolutely. It should be a national holiday for everyone to go vote.
I don't have a problem with that. Now, voters here in North Carolina, I don't have to tell you guys, may actually decide this presidential election. It's getting so close. We're in the swing state of all swing states. Given what's going on with the controversy about mail-in ballots, or at least what the president's trying to make into a controversy, guys, what about people who haven't filled out the mail-in ballots? Should they just tear them up and say, look, I'm going to go vote in person just to make sure? Ogie.
I think North Carolina's system is fail-safe. There's 3 fail-safe mechanisms. But I'm going to vote in person. I'm going to vote on Election Day just to make sure that there's some Democrats out there, not all Republicans.
Don.
I think I hear the reports from our local elections board, and I think we're well prepared for this election and no problem with absentee ballots.
Keith Granberry.
Voter suppression. But if you can vote in person, you should vote in person. But this mail-in ballots has been going on for years. I don't understand why we're having this issue now.
It's just it's political hype, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, a number of cities are suing Netflix, Hulu, and streaming services. They want a part of the percentage of the profits, the revenues, same way they get percentage of revenues from cable TV companies. Now, who do you side with, guys, quickly? The cities and towns on this to get some revenue, or the streaming services? Ogie.
I used to work for Time Warner Cable years ago, Jim, and we paid a lot of money to Greensboro and Guilford County, so I side with the municipalities, I do.
Don.
I've got my county commissioner hat on. I agree. Revenue from the streaming.
Keith Granberry.
I think that if you create a business and the business is profitable, it's up to you to decide whether or not you give it to the municipalities or not.
Wow. We're going to have to do something about it. Keith's going rad on us. All right, finally, guys, speaking of radical, according to a recent study, people who eat peanut butter for breakfast are more passionate in bed, while those who drink hot tea for breakfast make more money. Guys, which do you have for breakfast, peanut butter or hot tea? Ogie.
Honest truth. Every day I start my day with a pack of nabs, a banana, and an oatmeal cookie.
Wow.
I don't like tea at all.
Okay, you're a peanut butter guy. Don Martin.
Actually, I like peanut butter in between bananas. They're like a little peanut butter
Peanut
banana
butter,
sandwich.
two peanut butter
I like
guys.
that.
So peanut butter makes you more passionate in bed. Hot tea makes you make more money. Keith Granberry, which do you have for breakfast, peanut butter or hot tea?
This is the truth. I do both. No, I'm serious.
Why did I know that's what you were going to
You
say?
walked into that
You
one, Jim.
walked in.
No, I can't take it anymore. I've taken all this I can stand. Oh, except for this. Now, guys, here's a real story. Researchers have just found out that the nanoparticles that are released from office printing machines can be very harmful to your health. Now they tell us, said the late Bill Hewlett and David Packard. That's Hewlett Packard.
Got it.
For all of us, thank you, Don. For all of us here on Triad Today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next time.